And I want to welcome everybody in to the Fifth Dimension podcast, where we are attempting to live more mindfully in the day to day. Quite simply, make this world a little bit of a better place. I want to thank you all for tuning in, whether it be on the podcast itself or on the YouTube channel. This will be the first time we have a podcast also going up with a video. So kudos to that. Just got my new little DJI Pocket Cam, which is a cool little toy and gadget that I get to take cool videos with. I'm your host, Evan McDermott, for those of you who don't know me. And I got a pretty good topic at hand. There's something that's been on my mind lately, and I think it's an important topic to talk about in relation to mindfulness and also pursuing creativity and pursuing what it is that we want to do with our lives. And ultimately, it's about finding true community and realizing we can't always necessarily rely on friends or family and people who we would expect to normally rely on when it comes to supporting our creative process. Now, this is something that I have experienced firsthand, first and foremost. And, when I first started my podcast, it took me months to get it set up, and the creation of it, whenever I would tell people about it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea, you should do it. And so when I started it up, I really excitedly shared it with pretty much everybody I knew. I was so excited to send it out to the world and to see what people thought of it. And what was the response of that? Well, most people were indifferent, or, some did not care, and there were even quite a few who were quite critical of me and me within the creative process. I was sort of stepping out of my constricted boundary, if you will, and outside of this comfort zone for myself. And so the question becomes, why do people do that? Now, it can be a debilitating feeling, and I have the sense that there's a lot of people out there who feel the same way, and when they come across this issue, when they start venturing into creativity, they start venturing into what it is that they want to do with their lives, and they start to get pushback from the people around them, they stop altogether. It's sort of a people-pleasing technique. I myself have done this a lot. And quite frankly, most of what people are doing, it may not even be personal attacks levied against you. And I think there's no blaming any particular people for any particular reason of why they may be criticizing or simply not responding in the way that you thought they would to your creative process. But like I said, it's almost as if when people do this, they're sort of rejecting your authentic self, your creative expression, your way of putting out your talent into the world. And, human beings are fascinating in this regard, right? Ultimately, we'll obsess over celebrities, we'll obsess over material goods, and be spending all of our time living in this consumption. Gotta binge my Netflix, gotta buy the new Gucci necklace or watch, whatever the Gucci things do. I don't have any Gucci, so I clearly am not Gucci. Anyways, or we're gonna spend hundreds in dollars and admire these things and these people and these celebrities that are on a personal level out of reach from us. We have no personal connection, you could say, to these higher things, celebrities and material goods. But it's sort of what's fed us. We're fed this in mainstream society. We're taught to consume this, and so that's what we do. Yet, we have friends and family who are immensely talented, and ultimately, think of the best singer, anybody, or talented musician, artist that you know personally, and we almost subconsciously scoff at it, and we take it for granted. Maybe there's a level of appreciation and admiration from afar, but we don't actually do anything to outwardly support them. If they're playing a local show in town, we may not go to the show. If they're holding an art gallery, we may not go to the art gallery. For me, with the podcast, for example, I put it out there, and most of my listeners at this point are people I do not know. I have a rather large friend group, you could say, and I have a lot of people who in theory support this podcast, but most of them don't actually really care that much. And at first I took it a little personally. I was a little offended. It's like, why don't you guys care about what I'm doing? But maybe people are too busy, whatever. Maybe it's not the audience. And most of the people who listen to this, for example, are people I've never even met. Shout out to South Africa, Uganda. Those are a couple of the most popular countries outside of the United States that listen to the Fifth Dimension. So kudos to you guys. I love it. Anyways, we're almost, familiarity almost breeds contempt, if you will. And it often requires effort to truly show our support for our friends. It requires almost a certain level of vulnerability. We can admire these people, these celebrities, without any sort of actual personal interaction. Yet to give praise to our friends' creativity, it is very much, we have to go above and beyond, or think we have to outwardly express ourselves in these elaborate manners so we don't do anything to sort of support the creative process. Ultimately, we do have to give people the benefit of the doubt. This is not me trying to knock on anybody I know for not listening to my podcast. I don't really care. Like, it's fine, But at first, it takes a lot to get past that initial hump of not feeling supported. We have to give the benefit of the doubt, like I'm saying. There are people close to you who simply aren't going to be your audience. Mindfulness, meditation, and self-improvement, that's a topic that not everybody is super interested in. That's a topic that I guess there's a select audience. I personally think anybody could benefit from self-improvement, but you have to be willing to take that step. You have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. So, I understand that it's not everybody's cup of tea. And oftentimes, once you begin to give the benefit of doubt, embracing this is when we begin to build true community. So people who appreciate you, people who appreciate your talents, they start to gravitate towards you. And ultimately, for example, there was this person who reached out to me, the most touching message I've gotten about the podcast, and I wish I had the actual message in front of me. It would require a great deal. Yeah, I'd have to go all the way to my Instagram DMs to read it word per word, but I'll summarize it for you guys. But essentially, he was talking about how, he was struggling with mental illness and struggling, wanting to give up and, thinking about suicide. And it's this talented musician, somebody who I looked at their work and I admire. And they're talking about how, somebody I've never actually met personally. And they were talking about how much the work meant, my personal work, and it was saving lives. That was the type of he was really drawn to it for that, and it really meant a lot to receive that sort of feedback. And he's part of the Fifth Dimension community. I view him as part of this oneness. We are all one. We're all connected. But he truly embraced the work that I was doing, and it meant a lot to feel that. And it's just an example of people gravitating to your work slowly but surely. And it's a grind. We have to be willing to expose our perspective beyond the realm of just friends and family. And at first, that can feel very vulnerable to do so. However, once I began to, engage in self-analysis and meditation, I realized, we are all one. And I'm very open. Something I admire about myself personally is that very open and willing to give everybody a shot, right? So when you go beyond the realms of your current friends and family, you really open the doors to new connections and growth and community. So when you start being yourself, others will gravitate towards you, and it will make you, make your life and worries and anxieties and the perceptions that others have sort of go away. All that matters in this world is to be yourself. That's really all you can do to live a happy life. Life is so simple, yet we overcomplicate it. And why is that? It's because we are so caught in up our worries and our anxieties. And how can we be ourselves? It's to express ourselves authentically. And most people are not given the chance to do that because they don't have supportive people around them. Maybe you have good friends around you, maybe your family is supportive in a way, sure, but do they allow you to be authentically you? You have to believe in what you are doing personally. Know your worth, know your talents, know that you are worthwhile. Because if you don't believe it, nobody else will. I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples. I wrote a few down of people who followed their heart despite what their family's wishes were. And some of these people were disowned by their family. The family came out and said, we're very disappointed in them, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. You all heard the stories of the musicians who, their family wanted them to be a doctor, or you meet the doctor who ultimately always wanted to be in a rock band, but instead he chose to pursue medicine. Why? Because his dad went to Harvard, and he'd be disowned if he chose to pursue a life in music. Now, which path in the long run do you think would have made him happier? You don't want to live a life of regret. Now, here's some infamous names. Katy Perry's one of them. The talented, ever great pop musician. I guess her parents were something like diehard Catholics or something along those lines, very religious, and they were very disappointed by her outward expression in pursuit of music, and they all very disappointed in her, I guess. Edgar Allan Poe is another. Famous. What would we be doing without his writings? Yet his parents wanted him to be in the military. Edward Monet, famous French painter. Chris Christopherson. His parents wanted him to be some architect or something, and they basically disowned him for him moving to Nashville to pursue a career as singer-songwriting. So when you have, following your heart, it sort of requires this almost mentality of looking beyond the current people around you and realizing that if people around you are holding you back, you cannot allow that to happen. And certainly, this is not going to be applicable to everybody. There are a lot of people out there who come from very supportive family backgrounds and already have people around them who are making them better. So, at first, if you don't have that around you, you almost have to adopt a lone wolf mentality. And I'm not a huge believer in rugged individualism in the sense that we pave our own way, we don't take help from others, you have to just do whatever you're going to do individually. I think at first, though, when you're venturing into creativity, you need to have that lone wolf mentality, and you need to adopt it because, attempting to pursue creativity when you lose the people who aren't necessarily supporting you because you're doing it, it can feel quite lonely. Going back to the idea, you have to believe in what you're doing. Everyone who knows you thinks they know what is best for you. And they think they know what is best for you, and it's not out of hate, it's not out of spite, it's out of a place of love. They're coming from their own individual experience. Based on their own individual experience, they have this idea of how the world works and what path you need to take to fit into that world. However, everybody's perception of the world is different. So, people have no fucking clue what's best for you. I'll tell you that right now. If you listen into what does your heart want to do? Do it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Certainly be rational in a sense that don't just quit your 9-to-5 job if you have a family to support, and you'll lose the house if you do so, but do what you need to do to be happy. Having the expectation people are going to just unconditionally support you can be sort of detrimental until you find people who will unconditionally support you. You almost need to, in order to acquire more, you must get rid of less to keep a state of balance, to keep an equilibrium, a flow. And, once you really, that's what I'm saying, once you really do begin to believe in what you're doing, people will gravitate to you. You find authentic community, people you can learn from, people you can grow by being around. You can grow with people you can be inspired by. I always say, if you're the smartest person into the room, if you're the smartest in the room, you need to find a different room. You need to constantly be surrounding yourself with people who are trying to do better, who are attempting to succeed and have these lofty goals. You can't be stuck in complacency of where you're at. You can always be looking to improve. And that is part of the human experience. You're going to grow. It's just a matter of how are you going to grow? Are you going to grow in a positive manner that is not only beneficial to you, but the world around you and make this world a little bit of a better place? Or are you going to grow in your complacency and your limited perspective? And at the same time, when you start to meet these people who you gain inspiration from, and when you start to surround yourself with a circle of growth mindset people, you need to start to listen. We need to learn to listen. When you know how to listen, Ram Dass said, be here now. When you know how to listen, everybody is guru. You can learn something from anybody, any walk of life, in any situation. Every single experience is just that. It's experience. And we gain wisdom from experience. And, we need to embrace that wisdom. We need to embrace help when it's offered to us. We only know so much. In the grand scheme of things, of reality, we ask the question, what is reality? And reality is this massive, massive, massive truth beyond our own individual limited perspective. We only know so much about the scope of reality. So when somebody else comes and offers us help and it's genuine, we should be full on board, willing to embrace it. We can all learn from each other, and they can learn from you as much as you can learn from them. So it's beneficially, a mutual beneficial relationship, you could say. So remember, everything you seek is seeking you. It's already there. I have that tattooed on me. I won't show you that on this one. For those listening to the podcast, you're definitely not seeing it, but those on the camera, not showing you it right now. But everything you seek is already seeking you. It's already right there inside of you. We have the capability to create anything. How many 30 years ago, if you showed somebody an iPhone, they would have no idea what that is. They would say that is an impossible piece of technology. Anything is in the grand scheme of things is possible, because the human mind has infinite potential for growth. So pursue what you want to pursue your creative passions. We only have however many years to live anyways. In the grand scheme of reality, the earth has been going on for billions of years. We are a very, 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 very insignificant chunk of time. However, we can make a huge impact for the betterment of the human species, for the betterment of evolution. We're the first species that we know of that has this self-awareness capability to create a better humanity, to create a better planet for all life encompassing on it. And the only way we do that is by authentically being ourselves, authentically expressing ourselves in a manner that is beneficial to us and beneficial to the people around us. And it's all right there. We have the capabilities to do whatever we want to do. So just go create. Don't look back. Are you thinking of songwriting? Write some songs down. I don't care how good or bad you think you are. Write them down. And then send them to me, because I want to read them and I will sing them over the air. Don't look back. If you want to do songwriting, do songwriting. If you're thinking about taking a guitar class, take a guitar class. If you're thinking about starting up a podcast, take the steps to start up the podcast. These thoughts you're having are thoughts for a reason, because you want to do them. And the only thing that is holding you back is your own mind. It's your own ego telling you that we need to stay in the comfort of what I am doing in the here and now of complacency. And it's good to be in the here and now, but use the here and now to better the future. Don't look back. I have faith in your belief and your talents. We all have, as I've said before on this podcast, we all have individual, unique experiences. There's 7 billion different consciousness streams on the planet. Nobody has the same experiences in life, so we all bring something unique to the table. However, it's up to you if you're going to bring it to the table. Are you going to be the guy who shows up to the potluck with nothing to benefit the whole community? Or are you going to be the one who brings the delicious plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies with the extra chocolate chips, aka your creative talents? Because I think you want to bring the chocolate chip cookies. I think you want to show the world what it is that you're made of, what it is that makes you you. Authentically express you, be vulnerable, and you will find true compassion, connection, and love. And ultimately, whether you realize it or not, you will make the world a better place because you are uniquely you and you are participating in the betterment of the planet. So don't get down if your family is not supporting what you want to do in your life. If they're telling you to go to engineering school but you want to be a painter, be a painter. Even if you're financially dependent on them, have conversations with them. Express what it is that you're feeling, what you want to do. These people who maybe don't support you, but you don't want to end ties in that relationship, have the conversation. Say, hey, this is what I feel and this is what I need to do for me. And when you're open and you're honest like that, it goes really well. I've had to have this conversations a couple times and they go pretty well. So don't be afraid to have that conversation. But also realize that you know what's best for you. And if they're not going to support it, that's their own loss to not take part in that beauty. I wholeheartedly support whatever it is that you want to do for you. Whatever that may look like. Everybody has something different going for them. This podcast is a reflection of me, and I got that going for me. Same with the channel and all the projects I'm pursuing, and whether people choose to support it or not, I'd love them to. But if they're not going to, shucks, what can I do? I'm gonna keep doing me, and I'm gonna keep shining light on this world. So that's pretty much this talk. It's like a Dharma talk. We go for about 20-30 minutes and we just vibe, we chill. And yeah, hopefully you guys can take something away from this. And whatever your creative projects are, this will be for the YouTube people. Drop it in the comments below. I want to know what you guys got going on. And if you're listening to the podcast, message me and tell me what you got going on. I'd love to hear about your creative work, and I'd love to help in any way if I can. So I'm always looking to hear about your creativity and what you guys got going on. So give this podcast a rating. If you're listening to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, give us 5 stars. Seriously, more people will hear it if we get more ratings. And if you send it and you leave a comment, it helps the algorithm. Same with YouTube. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. That's how more people are going to find this. And maybe send it to somebody who might be struggling with their own creativity and needs to sort of hear this, that they are supported. I'm here for you. People who truly care for you will be there for you. So you can find me on social media at Evan McDermott on Instagram, at the Fifth Dimension Podcast on Instagram. You can find me on the TikTok, baby. I'm starting to get a little more comfortable with it. I think. I don't really know. I don't know what to tick and what to talk all the time, but I'm trying. So find me on there. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's time to give special thanks. Special thanks to you who's pursuing your creativity and listening to this even now. Like we stopped to talk. Here you are, still tuning in because you're just vibing, you're just chilling. So thank you for staying with and listening. Special thanks to Ryan O'Leary because he's a bro and he just subscribed to my YouTube channel right before I recorded this, so he's on the mind. Thank you. Oh wow, things are falling. Thank you, Clark Silva, for designing the podcast logo. Thank you to Ian McDermott for taking podcast photos. Thank you to Roundtree for the music of the Fifth Dimension. You can find him on Spotify. He has a new album coming out soon, and he'll be on the podcast. So stay tuned for that one. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got for you. Happy day. Spring is coming. Summer's coming. Some of you, it doesn't matter. You get warm weather year round. But yeah, stay tuned for more content, more podcasts, more videos. Yeah, I'll see you guys around. Have a great rest of the day.